So my best guess is you may need some of these added to your stash. I'm talking about cards for men, and these are the 5-minute kind. So I decided to focus on images today, and I grabbed out quite a few different sets from my stash that have images that I thought would work well for men. And I'm going to give you a lot of tips along the way. It doesn't really matter what stamps you use. You can use these ideas and designs to suit whatever you might have in your stash. So they're all going to be very clean and simple designs, and my first idea is to stamp a simple image and a sentiment. So I am working on a panel of cardstock because I'm going to be colouring with some alcohol markers. But if you're happy to work on the front of a card, then it's going to make things even quicker. So I do like to take a minute to line things up to make sure that everything's where I need it to be. I am using my Misty tool here, so a stamp positioning tool is going to be a great help because you are more likely to get a better impression first time, and you can always restamp if you need to. And another great thing about a stamp positioner is that you can do multiples. If you don't mind recreating the same card a few times, especially when they're this quick, then stamp out a few panels while you're at it. So I am doing some really quick colouring here. I'm not going overboard on the shading. One of my tips here is to know your colours, especially when it comes to markers. The caps are not true colours at all. This definitely speeds things up if you know what colours you want to grab. If you don't, then if you have them swatched out, then this is a great way to speed things up as well, because you can always check your swatches. One thing I do like to use in masculine designs is humour, and a lot of stamp sets have coordinating images with punny sentiments. When you're choosing stamps and sentiments, one of the things that really slows me down when I'm creating is choosing the right sentiment for a card. So when I'm trying to speed things up, one of my top tips here is to use a sentiment from the stamp set that you've taken the image from. So obviously the sentiments from the same stamp set are going to coordinate perfectly. So why not make it easy on yourself? I really didn't do any shading here. I literally just coloured very quickly, and it was easy and fun to do. And I do like to come back in and restamp my image with a pigment ink after I've done the colouring. This step is also optional if you want to save that 30 seconds. And when I'm adding a panel to the front of a card, my ATG is one of the quickest ways to do this. I don't even think you can get these anymore, but any sort of tape runner is going to be faster. A liquid glue is pretty speedy as well. This dog makes me laugh. All right, so we're on to the next technique now, and I've chosen a fish image this time. This set is great for masculine cards, and I'm combining it with a different set just to change it up and make it a little bit of fun. All of these cards today are going to be birthday cards, and I really like a clean and simple design for masculine cards. So a lot of white space makes me happy. So this technique is partial colouring. So this fish is actually perfect for it. But another thing that you could do when it comes to partially colouring an image is to say just stamp out an image, but just colour one section of it. Like the previous set I just used had a little chihuahua holding a guitar, or one with a hat on. So you could just colour the guitar or just colour the hat. Just choose a portion of the image. It's going to save you a lot of time, and just leave the rest of the image as line art. So this time I'm just stamping the fish and the balloons in the alcohol friendly ink, and what I'm doing here is cheating. I'm not thinking about where I want to colour this fish. I'm following the guide on the packaging pretty much even down to the colour. Even though this is a stamped image, you can stamp these colours onto the fish. It's much quicker and easier for me just to grab alcohol marker and just quickly draw them in. And the balloons just got one swipe of ink each. And now I can just come back in and stamp the whole image and sentiment with some pigment ink. And that's just going to crisp those edges up. It's a shame that pigment ink doesn't work with the alcohol markers. I did take the time to draw a pencil line for the balloons because I always struggle with this. So I found it was easier just to get my head around where I thought it might want to be. It probably took a few more seconds than it needed to, but at least I didn't have to start again. And it's still a very quick card. And I used just a multi-liner to draw over the pencil, then I can just erase it. And another hot tip here is make sure you got your card facing the right way. But I'm using my Misty tool here to align the front panel that I've been working on. It's really quick and easy to line up your card panels against the edge of the Misty. I just took out the fat mat, like the foam mat thing that's in there, and that just gave me a little bit more space. And to save a bit more time, I'm doing some faux splatter. I'm not very good with it. I usually just splatter with black ink, but this time I just thought I'd quickly draw some pencil dots in there just to make sure I was going to be happy with where it was sitting, and then I came back in with that Copic multi-liner and drew those dots. So it's a very quick and easy card, yet again with some partial colouring of the image. Lots of white space today. The next technique is just to stamp the outline only. Now I am going to combine this panda with one of the sentiments from that same set I used before, and I'm just roughly working out on my card where I want it to be first. So this is going to save me a bit of time. Let me give you a tip here. It doesn't, because I mucked it up, but you'll find out in a moment. But I decided to do some ombre inking directly to the stamp. And I could have stamped it each time, but because I came in with the lightest ink first, I could just quickly grab the next one, knowing that it's not going to contaminate because it's a lighter ink and it's in the same family. And then I can just stamp out the image. Now I have got ink on my fingers here, and inky fingers is one of the worst things you can have for clean and simple card designs, because it will always get where you don't want it to get. So if you do get ink on your fingers, take those few seconds to clean it off. I didn't get the best impression with my first stamp, so I'm glad I used the stamp positioning tool so I could re-stamp it, and then I decided to add a little bit of a darker ink to the base of the sentiment as well. Now I was thinking I had to flip my Misty tool around because of the butt of the panda bear. I thought it was going to be hanging over the edge of the card, but it didn't work out like that, because I realized that I needed to raise the bear up a bit higher so that his tummy didn't look like it had a H sitting in it. So I probably could have just stamped this my regular way. I usually like to stamp with the Misty from the right side. I know we're all different. Are you a right Misty stamper, or are you a left Misty stamper, or a stamp positioning tool stamper? So there's no worries when you use the stamp wheel. There's none of this right or left. It's just circular. It's easy. Now, so this is just an outline. It's a pretty thick outline in some places, and this particular panda is designed to be holding on to a tree. So there is a bit of a missing arm there. So I decided to come in with the multi-liner again, and I just drew a white arm in there. But I'm looking at this and I'm not liking the balance of this card. I didn't want to come in and add another sentiment lower down. It was just going to look weird. So here's my saving grace. If you don't have nesting rectangle dies, then you can always just trim it down with a paper trimmer. Once I trimmed it down, I decided it'd be fun to have a black background for the panda. I've got a white gel pen here. I've added some dots for the eyes and just changed the shape of them a little bit with my craft knife. I did set this aside to dry for quite a while before I came in and added the pupils for the eyes, which I did with a Sharpie. I think it just brings this panda to life. Eyes make a difference. I don't know why this panda doesn't have eyes. My panda has eyes. So the last card is to stamp outline images yet again, but this time I'm going to be stamping multiple images all at once because that saves time. And I'm also stamping in coloured ink this time. This is probably the most clean and simple of all of the cards, and it really didn't take any time at all. I think if I did spend a little bit more time on this card, I'd probably add some really simple shading to the images. Now the balance here, I did make sure, I did take the time to get the balance of the images how I wanted them, because then it's going to look weird. The other thing you could do here is keep stamping and like fill up the whole background with these images and then just add a sentiment. That would work really well. But I do like how when you use the stamp wheel, I can have the stamps going off the edge of the cardstock, and I know that the cardstock's not going to shift. So I just did some really quick stamping here, and I was a bit torn with what to do with the sentiment, and when in doubt, I always like to white heat emboss and add a speech bubble because that's what we do. I have chosen one of the sentiments from the set because it meant that I didn't have to think about it, and it's a real classic Australian saying. It says "Good Onya," which is something that we say all the time. Wombatulations is also in that sentiment set, and I've never heard that before, but I don't know, it's kind of cute. It's a really nice font, but probably not a sentiment. Maybe I'll have to make sure that I do use that sentiment. It's for the wombat images that are in this set. It's an Australian company that made this, called Uniquely Creative. So I did take the time to make sure that there was no stray white specks of embossing powder before I heat set it, because that is something that takes time to fix after. Those few extra seconds makes a huge difference to the work post heat embossing. So I thought the biggest kangaroo was the one that needed the sentiment. How cool is that? Right, very clean and simple. Altogether now, the first idea, which was to stamp an image and a coordinating sentiment on a card panel and do some colouring with some alcohol markers. Second technique was to mix up a couple of stamp sets and also do some partial colouring, along with a little faux splatter to make it speedy. And the next idea was to stamp an outline image, but I've added some colour here on the sentiment. I did that in an ombre style. I did have to save this panel and recenter that. And the final card, which is the most clean and simple, is stamping multiple images all at once, and they are done in a coloured ink this time, in a brown ink, with a heat embossed speech bubble. Be sure to subscribe for more card ideas, because creativity doesn't have to take all day. Let me know in the comments below if you have a favourite card today, or if you're going to try any of these techniques. I've got a couple more masculine card videos here for you to watch, and I look forward to seeing you there. If you liked today's video, please click on the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? It's totally free. I look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Till then, happy paper crafting. Bye.